Hello! In this video, I'm going to explain the 4 key hunters or predators in our class novel, Salt of the Sea. In the first 4 chapters of the book, which we're calling moments, we hear that the characters say, guilt is a hunter, fate is a hunter, shame is a hunter, and fear is a hunter. These are all things that the 4 main characters feel hunted by. And they show up all throughout the book, and so we look at them and we say, what does this mean? What does any of this mean? How do we think about these things? It's important to understand not only these concepts, but specifically how these concepts are fleshed out in the novel, what the author's understanding of these concepts are, and how we can use them to talk about the novel and the characters, because we will need to for some upcoming assignments. So let's think about these a little bit. Guilt, fate, shame, and fear. Here are some valid definitions that work in real life. These are livable definitions that you can use in your own thinking, but might not be the best understanding for how the author, Ruta Sepetys, thinks about these definitions, and therefore not the best way to understand her characters. A good definition of guilt is the moral and legal condition, meaning this is your standing, this is where you're at and what kind of thing is going on with you, your condition. And your condition is that you deserve punishment for something that you really actually did, right? That is guilt. If you didn't actually do something, you're not guilty. Sorry, but you're just not. Even if you feel guilty, you're not guilty. This is real wrongdoing, and you deserve punishment for it. I got this definition from a guy named John Piper, very smart guy. That's his definition. I think it works. I think that's a workable, livable definition of what guilt really is. Fate, I just got this from Oxford Languages, is the development of events beyond a person's control. Now, this is actually not a bad definition to use for Salt of the Sea, but this is just a very generic Oxford Languages definition. The development of events beyond a person's control, right? So you could say that fate has decided who the president is, whether I vote or not. It's out of my control, right? My single vote probably won't make a difference, which is probably a bad attitude, but certain things might fit into that definition that you probably wouldn't call fate. It's kind of a tricky definition. Shame, same source as the guilt definition, a negative, painful emotion of disgrace. So disgrace, it has to do with publicity, right? Other people finding out, right? Humiliation, similar to disgrace. And this is caused by evil doing or shortcoming or impropriety, usually your own, but possibly somebody else's, right? Doing something improper or not doing enough or straight up evil, right? This is what shame really is. If you are ashamed of something, it's usually because you're fearing disgrace or humiliation publicly in front of other people because of something that is actually wrong in some way. Fear, of course, is this unpleasant emotion. Not like guilt, that's more of a reality, but fear really is an internal thing. It's an unpleasant emotion caused by this belief of yours that someone or something around you is dangerous, is likely to cause you pain, or is a threat to you in some other way. And that's fear. Okay, so guilt, fate, shame, fear, these are great definitions. This should give you a good base understanding for these ideas. But when we shift to the novel, things change a little bit. Our definition of guilt for the novel is going to be knowing you've done something morally wrong or evil, right? A better way to think about it is knowing or thinking you've done something morally wrong or evil. Joanna is the one who struggles the most with this, and she has this idea in her head that she's done something super evil. Where we're at in my class, we haven't figured out what that is yet, so I'm not going to give any spoilers, but she keeps remembering this thing she's done from her past and feeling so much guilt because she did something wrong to someone, maybe even a group of people. But she feels this guilt because she's got this idea in her head that I did this and it was the most evil thing I could have done. It was so awful of me. And it is more of an emotion than a reality. Fate, Florian faces this the most. It's this need to fight against your own situation. So it's not just events that are beyond your control, but it's this need to fight against that and control that outcome yourself because you don't like it, right? He's in this situation in his life and he hates it and he's fighting against it. In fact, he says on page 108, So now I risked everything, confronting fate and the knowledge that I had authored my own demise, but only if I failed. And that last sentence, that last comment, is the key here, but only if I failed, because he's trying to say, I have some control over my fate. He's trying to act against the things that are currently out of his control by changing the situation, by doing enough to change his fate. So instead of just saying that it's events out of your control, it's this need to fight against things and change that outcome. That's what fate is in this book. Shame, and fear should have appeared in a minute, but shame is this impulse to hide things, to keep it a secret, because you're afraid that other people will reject you or cast you out if they learn that truth. Amelia feels this the most. Throughout the book, people try to talk to her, and she's like, here, take this potato, leave me alone. She just covers up her body with her arms, crosses them, says, leave me alone, or with her body language, she says that. But she's hiding things. She doesn't want to share her secrets because she's afraid that other people will totally reject her and hate her and despise her and send her away because of who she is or her past, something like that. Fear, at the end, of course, fear is not too different from the real definition, right? But it's this lack of courage or confidence because of, again, a threat to your safety, to your well-being, but it's affecting your courage, it's affecting your confidence, it's affecting your ability to happen to the moment you're in. Okay, so these are some good definitions for the novel, and if we compare them to the ones to the general definitions, they're not too far. So it's not like you have to totally change your definition of what this thing is just to understand the novel or to do any assignments based on these four things. But they're not exactly the same as what we see in the real world either, because Ruta Sepetys has ideas about what these things mean, and we're going to use her ideas of what they mean more than anything. So, I hope this is helpful. If you have questions about this, let me know. If you need more help understanding these and you want to hash it out and talk about it, we can. But hopefully this video is good for you. We'll see you soon.